It never starts on one.
What is going on,
Now it
everyone?
does.
What are we going? What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the final whistle. Today we have a good one. Basically consisting of Aaron Rodgers drama, NFL free agency. It's kind of crazy. You were saying before we even started. It's funny we're doing a recap the day after free agency officially begins, just because free agency practically is on Monday now with legal tampering. And at the end of the episode, we're planning on having a little bit of a conversation about the upcoming QB class. Because after thinking about it a little longer, I don't think it's as bad as what people are saying it is. So I guess to start off, how are we doing, JJ? What's up, first of all?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. It's another Thursday here in Newburgh. We've had a lot of things going on in this town, so I apologize in advance for the lack of content uploads. Had so much stuff going on. I will say that Nate and I are bringing back SmackDown Hotel next week. We're also bringing back Across the Subway next week, and I'm making my content return tonight with Villanova and UConn. So apologies for all the lack of content, but I'm ready to talk some free agency because it's been a wild last couple of days.
No, it's all good, JJ. Completely understand. And to start this thing off, we are going to be doing the entirety of this situation, being Aaron Rodgers and the holdup. Man, oh man, this is just getting frustrating. Nevin says in the chat, scared it was going to cancel. No, we're still here. Whenever I'm thinking this Aaron Rodgers situation, I'm a Steelers fan. I'm sure, JJ, you know a bunch of Giants fans, or Jets fans too.
Oh, yeah.
Both
Oh, yeah.
Jets and Giants.
All over this town, I tell you. All
So
over the state.
whenever I'm hearing the Steelers, they are in desperate need of a quarterback. Whenever you're hearing Aaron Rodgers to the Steelers, I'm like, they're really going to do this. Me and Danny basically ranted about this while you were kind of in on it too on
I remember.
Monday.
Yeah.
And about how they should have just brought back Justin Fields. The Steelers are doing something that I've never really seen them do as a fan of the team, and that is just not have a plan. They do not have a plan. This is the most, I guess, confused the Steelers look as an organization right now. They do not know what they are doing. And the fact of the matter is, they are at a standstill waiting on what Aaron Rodgers wants to do. The Steelers have never been a football team to have to wait on another player. They have always been like moving on as quick as possible, saying, you know what? If we're not going to wait for you. We're going to go out and do this while we're waiting for you because you know what? You're not worth our time. The Steelers are giving in to Aaron Rodgers right now because they have messed this up entirely. They don't look like the Pittsburgh Steelers that are serious. And what's funny, Monday I was really excited because they just traded for DK Metcalf. The Steelers, for once, spent $1 bazillion and basically made DK Metcalf the highest paid Steeler and highest paid wide receiver in NFL history. And right now, basically overshadowing that entire trade in the area of Pittsburgh is Aaron Rodgers quarterback talk because no one in Pittsburgh knows who the quarterback is going to be. And the sad thing is, I don't think a lot of the people in the Steelers organization know who the quarterback is going to be.
They just got Mason Rudolph back.
I did see they do bring back Mason Rudolph today. Personally, I like that because he was a very solid backup. He can be a solid backup. And honestly, there's different routes the Steelers can go with this. But in all honesty, the Steelers messed up. They did this to themselves. And the fact of the matter is, the Steelers and the Giants right now are letting Aaron Rodgers basically ruin their entire offseasons because they're just sitting there waiting for stuff to do. The Steelers weren't able to be on a top-end corner like I really wanted them to. They ended up getting Darius Slay. Cool. He's aging. I think he's solid, but they could have got a Ward. They could have got someone else. But instead, they're waiting to see what Aaron Rodgers wants to do. And the thing with Aaron Rodgers, and you could probably attest to this knowing people that have watched the Jets, you're getting a guy that is basically going to be your new general manager, your new head coach, your new owner. Aaron Rodgers is not a good leader for a locker room. And I see all the time Steelers fans like desperate. They are desperate for a quarterback. I get it. They need a quarterback really bad. But at the same time, it cannot be Aaron Rodgers. And I had some guy on Twitter going at me yesterday. First guy I've ever made mad on Twitter. He was like, oh, you just don't like him. You just don't like him because of his beliefs. No, I could give a crap about all that. I don't want him as the leader of a football team that already has enough personalities to begin with. This guy, Aaron Rodgers, if you understand right, JJ, what he's done with the New York Jets, fired their head coach practically, gave them an interim head coach who did not do good, basically traded Mike Williams away to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and of all people made Garrett Wilson upset and almost demanding a trade. If Aaron Rodgers was still a Jet today, Garrett Wilson would be demanding a trade right now. Of all people,
100%.
Garrett Wilson, who's a level-headed young receiver, which we don't see a lot in the league today. This guy, I don't understand why these teams are letting them dictate what they're doing. And the sad thing, I know this is a tangent to start us off, and I'll get to you in a second and your thoughts. But the fact of the matter is, the Steelers are at a standstill with the New York Giants. The Giants of all teams. This is a move the Giants should be making to just get a veteran quarterback. The Steelers are at a standstill and or bidding war with the New York freaking Giants. This is two completely opposite teams. And the worst thing to say about this is this. The fact of the matter, the Steelers are in the better situation for Aaron Rodgers to begin with, and the Steelers fans are still waiting for him to make a dumb decision, just shows me no one knows what is happening. And this is just the typical Aaron Rodgers. The Steelers, if they get him, are going to be getting every single week. Everything's running already right now, JJ, on Aaron Rodgers' time. Everything is on Aaron Rodgers right now. Steelers give him all these weapons. He's not even a Pittsburgh Steeler. And it's funny, I'm listening to radio broadcasts all week, what people are calling in Pittsburgh. No one wants this. There have been only maybe 5 people that have called into the local radio station saying, you know what? Let's just get him. My favorite phone call, someone called into the station yesterday. I thought it was hilarious. I started laughing at work. It was, there's only 2 positives that come out either way if you get Aaron Rodgers. Number 1, the Steelers somehow can win with him. Number 2, if he sucks, Mike Tomlin looks like an idiot. Those were the 2 positives that Steeler fans are thinking of this, because people are just trying to think of stuff. I'm sure I'll get some more in, but I'm going to throw it to you, JJ. Sorry for that all. I thought you would love that. But yeah, that's my overall thoughts on Aaron Rodgers.
Man, how the hell do I follow that up? Okay, then. Oh, my
Sorry,
God.
I had to let that out. I've been holding that in all week.
Oh, yes. Well, first and foremost, I would like to make an announcement that the final whistle is officially, as of today, an all NFL show as of this very moment. You want to talk other sports? We'll figure that out. Officially, the final whistle is a football show. After that, I don't know if we can really talk about anything that's not football on this show. So to all the baseball lovers and the basketball lovers and the UFC lovers and the wrestling lovers, tune into the other shows because this is officially now a football. That is hard to follow up, Nate. I'll tell you that right now. That is almost impossible to follow up. Well, I've stopped myself 3 times. That's how crazy that was. I can't even think straight after hearing that. But Aaron Rodgers is the Jets are paying $49 million in dead cap this offseason. To say that his signing was a failure, I think that's a detriment on the word failure itself. This is levels of atrocity. And I'm not talking about his style of play. He wasn't a bad playing style, don't get me wrong. However, the biggest issue, in my opinion, was the fact that he had no locker room. He lost the locker room almost instantly. And I'm not saying when he got injured, but I'm saying after the fact. That was my biggest issue with Aaron Rodgers, is that he lost the locker room almost immediately. Do I think that him going to the Giants makes sense? Yes, I think that he would make Malik Neighbors look really, really good. Do I think the Steelers should go for him? No, I don't. How many times are the Steelers going to have somebody leading the charge that is full of drama? You remember those final years of Big Ben from 2017 to 2021?
Yeah.
That's what Aaron Rodgers is going to give you. JJ, how about Adams? X, we talked about this on the last show on Monday. I'm very happy. I'm still upset that my team won't sign a fucking cornerback.
You know, we'll cover this more when we get to free agency because we'll do an overall recap.
We did already discuss that on Monday, but yeah, the whole thing with Rodgers is you're basically getting 2017, 2021 Big Ben redux. And I don't think anybody in Pittsburgh wants to deal with another season of Days of Our Steelers. Aaron Rodgers is the epitome of Days of Our Steelers.
They only won it just because the aspect, I guess he can win, but I don't know if they understand. This dude is like only coming off one full season with the New York Jets and all the drama he brings. Everyone, like I'll just tell you this. The state of Pittsburgh sports right now is just desperation, especially with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Everyone is finally frustrated. Basically, they should be right now, especially with the coaching currently. And they're frustrated that the Steelers are in currently a standstill and should have had a QB situation figured out at least on Monday. They could have at least had Justin Fields or Russell Wilson locked up even before Monday, but they didn't. They let Justin Fields go to the New York Jets. And I'll just say this. Sorry if I cut your point off, but I really hope Justin Fields balls out with the New York Jets.
He will.
I hope he does and makes the Steelers look even stupider than what they are. Because I'll give Omar Khan all the props in the world for being a solid GM, but I posted this hot take, and I thought it was a pretty solid one. Omar Khan, the Steelers GM, if you don't know, he's such a better guy at making trades than attacking free agency. He really is. And this is case in point. The Steelers organization used to be one that never did free agency. It always was, we're going to build through draft picks, let these guys develop. And now it just seems they're just trusting free agency right now because they don't know how to develop draft picks. Rooney II, the current owner, said in their postseason conference, this quote will always stick to me. They learned nothing from the Kenny Pickett situation. They learned nothing about developing quarterbacks. Nothing. How do you learn nothing? If you have the so-called greatest coach of all time in Mike Tomlin, and he's never been able to develop one of these young guys. It just makes no sense. Like what they're doing, how they are not learning anything. They bring in Arthur Smith, Cole, and Arthur Smith seemed to like Justin Fields, and Tomlin always says he wants a mobile quarterback, and they let Justin Fields walk for 2 years, $40 million with the Jets, $20 million a year for him to be the Jets starter. I would have done that in a heartbeat. Maybe a little less if he's on the Steelers. But the thing is with the Steelers, what they failed to do with Fields, they couldn't give him a guarantee that he was going to be the starting QB. And that is what is screwing over the Pittsburgh Steelers. It is the lack of commitment they're giving the players. It's been 2 years in a row. There has been quarterback drama to a T. Last year, it all happened at once. Russell Wilson signs for basically vet minimum because Broncos are paying his whole contract. Nothing wrong with the Steelers doing that. Kenny Pickett, literally the day after or like hours later, gets traded out of nowhere, and then they trade for Justin Fields. That was all in the span of like a day or two. This Aaron Rodgers thing, for no reason, has spanned the entire week. We are at Friday tomorrow. Legal tampering started on Monday.
By the way, thank you, legal tampering, for giving us some of the most chaotic 48 hours ever.
Thank you. It
was awesome. I loved it.
I hate that you used to have to wait till free agency, and now you can just do this. But, like, the Steelers, literally, I'm listening to the radio, listening to live broadcast while I'm at work, seeing, did we get our quarterback? All these happen on one day. Sam Darnold, Seahawks, nope. Justin Fields, Jets, nope, he's gone. Daniel Jones, of all people, I think yesterday goes to the Colts. Jacoby Brissett to the Cardinals. Mason Rudolph does come back to the Steelers. I like that his backup happened today. Marcus Mariota, who Danny brought up last week, he goes to the Commanders. Mac Jones goes to the Niners. The only guys out there free agent-wise for the Pittsburgh Steelers right now are 4 people. Joe Flacco, Jameis Winston, Russell Wilson, and Aaron Rodgers. And the funny thing is, too, supposedly the Vikings might be getting involved now with Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if you've seen those reports. So it's not just the Giants, not just the Steelers. Could Aaron Rodgers be inclined to go to the Minnesota Vikings right now?
Please.
Because
I need it.
If you think about it, why wouldn't you want to play with a Justin Jefferson? The Steelers bring in DK Metcalf and pay all this money, but at the same time, it's like, you guys really don't have a plan at quarterback? What are they doing? Like, it baffles me as a fan of the team. And I think you can clearly see my frustration right now. But it's just baffling having to deal with this now. It's like there's fans that are calling the Steelers the new Browns. I don't like that comparison. JJ, you know what team I compare to the Steelers right now? What they're becoming? Can you take a guess?
Okay. I'm going to go with, wait, who'd you say you don't like the comparisons to?
There's Steelers fans calling the Steelers the new Browns. That is not a real comparison. There's a certain team I think the Steelers are becoming right now. Ever since Big Ben left. Ever since he retired.
Dallas Cowboys?
The Indianapolis Colts.
I could see it.
Because the Indianapolis Colts lose Andrew Luck, and now they're in quarterback limbo. They don't even know if Anthony Richardson is the option. They signed Daniel Jones, probably be their starter over Anthony Richardson. Who knows about that?
That would be awesome.
They've been stuck in this QB limbo since Andrew Luck. They've had Matt Ryan, Phillip Rivers, all these other guys. The Steelers, since Big Ben, have had Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, Mitch Trubisky, Kyle Allen made a little bit of a stint. Who else? Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, a revolving door, a quarterback carousel, you could call it. And Steelers fans are just here waiting and begging just for some sort of news because no one knows who the starter is going to be next year. And let me ask you this question from the New York fan perspective. I know you're a Rams fan. I know you know a lot of Giants fans. Overall, could you see a world where Aaron Rodgers is waiting this out? Because supposedly there are also rumors that the Steelers' contract isn't as much as he wants. But here's the thing with Rodgers. Do you think Rodgers is a spiteful type of person that would just sign with the Giants and just stick it to the New York Jets? And the Jets legit cut this guy, and then he could still play, live where he's been living, play in the same stadium, just stick it to the New York Jets. Do you think there is a world where that could happen? And what is the percentage chance?
That would be awesome. But I'm going to say the chances of him going to the Giants, I can't decide whether it's the Giants, Steelers. I'm starting to rule out the Vikings. I mean, I'm hopeful he still goes to the Vikings because I want that Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre cycle so badly. You have no idea how bad I want that. The memes will be absolutely endless. I'm going to say 60% Steelers, 25% Giants, 15% Vikings.
And honestly, I think it's going to end up being the Pittsburgh Steelers, like you're saying. But it's just sad how long this situation has been playing out, and it makes no sense why it has to take this long. I get it's the player's decision, but this is already what Steelers fans have been dreading. They're on a dog leash being led by Aaron Rodgers right now. Aaron Rodgers is holding up a lot of things this team could be doing, a lot of plans. And Boston fan for life comments, just sign Winston. He can at least win you games. I'll say this about Jameis Winston right now. I personally like Jameis Winston. I think he's a personality. I think he's a backup QB because there's certain type of quarterback Mike Tomlin doesn't like, a guy that turns over the football. The Steelers do not turn over the football that much. If you start turning over the football, you will be on the bench.
Did you watch Big Ben in his final 4 seasons?
But here's the thing. Big Ben gets a pass because it's Big Ben of all people. That's how the Steelers work. But here's the thing, though. Jameis Winston, Mike Tomlin, that is the type of player he stays away from. A guy with turnover history. I like him. I think he's a good person. I would totally watch a TV show with him. He was posting all that stuff from the Super Bowl on like Fox's TikTok. Loved it all.
The funniest guy on the planet.
And there's a reason that he brings up Kenny Pickett too. That's why Kenny Pickett isn't on the team anymore.
Yeah.
That's why the Steelers don't. Mike Tomlin does not like people that turn over the football.
Kenny franchise.
He's now a Cleveland Brown. And getting to the Cleveland Browns right now, this is a whole revolving door going along with this Aaron Rodgers situation. The Steelers have been screwed over. Russell Wilson is still out there if you hypothetically want him. I was talking to my buddies last night about this. The Steelers might have just burnt that bridge by basically telling Russell Wilson, you are our last choice. Sorry, Justin Fields was clearly number one. They said in the postseason press conference that their owner said, we would love to bring one of these two guys back. And so far, Justin Fields has left the Steelers organization, an organization I think he could have developed with pretty well. He goes to the Jets. Russell Wilson, meanwhile, there's been nothing new about him. And currently, he just visited with the Cleveland Browns, of all places, a team that just traded for Kenny Pickett. So who knows? I think it'd be hilarious if Russell Wilson takes his job for the second year in a row. How funny would that be? So, and
Wait,
this is also
that doesn't make any sense because Kenny Pickett was a Philadelphia Eagle at the time.
So I'll just add this too. You sign Rudolph, a man who turns the ball over a lot. And if Rodgers doesn't sign, then Rudolph is your number one option. I'll get to this in a second too. Rudolph, eventually, there's a lot of Steelers fans that hate Mason Rudolph. Personally,
why?
I don't hate him. He's a backup quarterback for a reason. If he ends up starting, this was a guy that got the Steelers somehow to the playoffs in that year with Kenny Pickett and a Mitch Trubisky. He started the final 3 games, practically saved the season. And I think
how the hell did that team make the playoffs?
Trust me, I don't know as a fan. Like, I was surprised the biggest win he had was the win in Seattle. That was a good win for the Steelers.
So you're telling me that Deus Ex Machina is for real?
Yeah, practically. Like, whenever you look at Mason Rudolph, I think he's just the backup. He's the backup guy. If he ends up starting, you know what the Steelers could do, and this will. Do you have anything else to add about Rodgers before I move on to this spiel, before we get into our free agency stuff? By the way.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else about Rodgers before I get into Rudolph?
We talked about Rodgers for 21 minutes. I think we're good to go.
So, very briefly about Mason Rudolph, and this kind of can go into our free agency stuff right now. Rudolph is the backup. That's what the plan seems to be. You sign him for 2 years, $8 million. So $4 million a year. Good for Mason Rudolph. He's back in an organization I think he should have never left. I think it was smart of him to leave because he was just thrown to the side. They chose Kenny Pickett, Russell Wilson, and Justin Fields over him. I would have Russell Wilson over Mason Rudolph. I would have a Justin Fields over Mason Rudolph, especially last year. Rudolph doesn't even really get an opportunity with the Titans. They basically told him Will Levis is the guy. Probably shouldn't have been the guy, but Mason Rudolph is your starting quarterback as of now. He's better than Skylar Thompson. And if the Steelers don't get Aaron Rodgers, the Steelers could get in a situation where, like I said earlier, I'm not even going to propose this stuff because this is just dreaming. And now the Steelers are a team that thrives in the trade market. There's so many guys that fans have loved for some reason. One name that keeps popping up, and I really don't see it right now, JJ, but I could totally see the Steelers taking a gamble on, especially if they don't like this quarterback class, which there are a lot of Steelers fans that like a certain guy by the name of Jackson Dart to be an option. But whenever I look at the trade market, there's a certain QB from New England, not named Drake May, named Joe Milton, that people have loved. He played that final game against the Bills, basically practice squad. Steelers fans, not really me, but a lot of Steeler fans have fell in love with the idea of maybe trading for this guy. He's young. He looked like he can sling a football well down the field. But what Rudolph can do also, thing about DK and Pickens, they like going deep. Mason Rudolph has a good deep ball. And that's not me just saying that. He has an arm. So this is a guy that can fill in for Rodgers, per se, if they get him. And if he gets hurt, and I'll just say this, they're not going to get him. I'm just saying this is something like fans have for some reason wanted.
Who?
Joe Milton. They're not
going I was just about to say Joe Milton.
They're not going to get him, but that's the type of player the Steelers can trade for. Because I see all these dreams that Steeler fans have for quarterbacks, and none of them are going to happen. None of them. I've seen there was the whole Trevor Lawrence story. That was fake. And literally a Jacksonville writer who covers golf wrote that story. And it got on the Steelers media.
Oh, God.
And people had to quickly shut that down. There was a fan the other night doing Kyler Murray ? I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. Why would they trade Kyler Murray from the Cardinals? Heck no. I mean, I would welcome it, but no, it's not happening. You got to be realistic. Joe Milton, for some reason...
There's no such thing as realism when it comes to the Steeler media.
Bruh, the fact that DK Metcalf somehow happened still shocks me. And he says here, draft Will Howard, he would fit well with the Steelers' play style. There have been Steeler fans that have said this. There have been a lot. And before we get into that more, let's get into the NFL free agency. Then we'll talk about quarterback class kind of people. Is it underwhelming? Is it not? NFL free agency, JJ. So Aaron Rodgers is part of this. We're not going to talk about him anymore. What's been the vibe? I mean, since Monday when it was legal tampering, it's kind of surged. The wide receiver market's been moving. The running back market kind of exploded a little bit. The quarterback market, just like that, everyone's practically gone. The tight end market, only one guy is left, and that's Tyler Conklin. I'm kind of surprised the offensive tackle market has been kind of quiet since. It feels like that. Interior offensive line's been booming. Edge rushers, I got my Joey Bosa pick correct. Buffalo Bills. But yeah, I'll throw it to you for a little bit.
Yeah, first and foremost, for all the people that believe JPA that Bosa was going to the Niners, go fuck yourself, 49ers fans. I am here for your downfall, and it's something I've been waiting a long time for. It's time for you to blow it up. But as for free agency, oh man, what's there to say, Nate? I mean, it's pretty much been more of the same. The Rams have not signed a fucking corner. It's been 4 days now, and I'm starting to lose my mind. Sign somebody. You've got options. Get Asante. Then there's guys that are like, how the hell are they still on the free agent board? Like Asante Samuel Jr. is one. Stephon Diggs is another. I mean, you have a ton of pieces that are just sitting out there waiting for you to grab them, yet nobody has moved an inch. I'll tell you what, free agency has definitely slowed down over the past day. But it's been a great free agency for offensive and defensive linemen. I had a feeling that this was going to be the offseason that they broke out. And if you don't mind, I'm going to pull up the free agency tracker. We're not going to talk about who's available. We're going to look at the highest paid contracts in all of free agency.
Yeah, like Boston Fan for Life says, Patriots were kind of busy.
Starting right off at the top. Check
there we go.
put my Wonderful. All right, here we go. Sorry that took so long.
No, you're good.
So, as we can see right here, these are the candidates. Sam Darnold gets the highest paid AAV of 33.5, which is honestly a bargain. That's not even that much because you look at what per se Daniel Jones got. Friggin' $40 million. These are the type of signings that honestly would fly under the radar. So shout out to the Seahawks for getting Darnold cheap. Milton Williams getting $100 million. That was surprising.
I'm still shocked about Dan Moore.
Dan Moore, $20 million.
Oh, Dan Moore.
I know you're thinking, good riddance.
Listen, I'll say this for about Dan Moore. He was a 4th-round pick, and I'm not going to hate on him. He did a lot of good things in Pittsburgh, like community-wise. He was a good person. Like, people have been talking good about him. He was just thrown in very awful situations, basically filling in for other positions, kind of. I think he can be solid, but he's nowhere near $20 million a year. No offense to Dan Moore, but he's nowhere near that range. Hopefully he proves me wrong.
He got paid the same amount of money as Justin Fields.
Which is nuts.
I know. Aaron Banks gets 19 mil. Josh Sweat gets 19 mil. But the one that really shocked me, shout out to Trayvon Moehrig for making $17 million a year. Let's take a look at some of these. Dayo Odingbo gets 16 mil. He got more than Devon Holland and Talanoa Hufanga, which is nuts.
Can I add this? I'm really I hate that I have to be happy about this because I wanted him, as you know. Javarius Ward. That's a good deal by the Colts.
We could have paid him that.
Yeah, I know. Any team could have. 18 million average for Javarius Ward. That is a really solid corner.
Aggravates the fuck out of me. He got the same as Paulson Adebo for the record.
Yeah.
Death, taxes, and the Giants overpaying in free agency. Although the Javon Holland was a good signing at 15 mil a year. Harold Landry to the Patriots for 14.5. Nate, this one aggravated me the most. I did not even know Nate Hobbs was a free agent. I so very wished, because that was the top corner I wanted. Him and DJ Reed. That was my 1A, 1B. Also, sorry to break your heart, Giant fans. You paid Darius Slayton more than the Broncos paid Dre Greenlaw.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. So, if we take a look at the top free agents that are left, as of right now, over 200 free agents have signed.
Rodgers and Cup.
Guys are getting paid $0. Yeah. Cooper Kupp gets released. Oh, man. I knew that Cooper Kupp was going to get cut eventually. Where do you think he's going to go? Oh, wait. Hang on. Breaking news. We have a trade.
Oh, boy.
We have a trade. Ed Ingram is being traded to the Texans from the Minnesota Vikings. The former second rounder from LSU is on the move, thanks to a big part of Minnesota spending big on offensive line in free agency.
Okay.
Sam Darnold will officially wear the number. What the fuck is this? Don't tell me he's gonna wear number 1. Oh, 14. Wow, that was the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
I'm gonna pull up this comment right here because I think this is a good fit for Cup. Ready for this
Let me
one?
hear it. Cubs can be a Patriot when drafting McMillan. I could see that. Yeah.
I think that's a very solid veteran to have on Drake May's side. Like not Tyler Lockett. I mean, like DK Metcalf could have been traded to the Patriots. Like I was thinking Patriots, Steelers, or Chargers, practically. Cooper Kupp, I could definitely see going to the Patriots. Tyler Lockett too. Is Tyler Lockett still available? Yeah, he is.
He's a Raider.
You think?
I know.
You know.
It makes the most sense. They're the only team that wants him.
This has been what about Stephon Diggs?
The one name. That's a good question. If he didn't have drama with Allen, I would have thought he would have definitely got back to the Bills. Yo, my Cooper Kupp to the Bills prediction makes so much sense now.
Do you think he's making the jump at least to the AFC, or is he still staying in the NFC?
I hope he goes to the AFC. I don't want. Yeah. My biggest fear is he goes to. Yeah, he's from Washington. My biggest fear, he's from near Seattle. I do not want to see him in blue and green. I would be very upset if he went to Seattle.
I don't know.
I won't hate him. I won't hate him because of all the good things he did for us. So, that's my biggest takeaway about that. The one that really shocks me is free agent Marcus Williams.
Yeah. Do you think, when I'm looking at these current guys available, clearly the big fish right now are Rodgers, Kupp, and Stephon Diggs. I'm kind of surprised Keenan Allen's still out there. He's a solid veteran. I'm surprised no team has landed him on a 1-year deal. Mike Williams got a deal before Keenan Allen. He goes back to the Chargers.
Rasul Douglas. That's also kind of wild.
Amari Cooper's still out there. He does have injury concerns. Von Miller's still out there as an outside linebacker. Brandon Cooks. I mean, some teams eventually going to get a Deontay Johnson probably later. Justin Simmons, I think, still out there as well. I think that's another solid player that someone could get. There's some good players out there in free agency right now. And like it says down here, I actually literally like a Tyler Lockett fit in New England. I don't know why that's kind of sticking out to me. I just think they need a veteran wide receiver to add to their core. Cooper Kupp, Tyler Lockett, any of these guys. And I'll ask you this about Stephon Diggs to get back to this, JJ. Do you think there's a chance? Could he go back to Houston? Is he done? Was that a 1-year trial?
I think he could go back to Houston. I just think that Stroud has a fetish with Nico Collins, and I also think that Emeka Egbuka will most likely become a Texan because I don't think the Steelers are officially not drafting a wide receiver.
Yeah, I hate that too because I wanted Egbuka.
He is officially a Texan.
Yeah, it's going to be curious to see what happens in the draft. We'll be talking about that weeks.
I would also like to say about a month from today, the week before the NFL draft, me, Herb, and Nate, and potentially a few other special guests will be doing a live Empire Sports Media mock draft and a live watch party of the actual draft. So Stay tuned
Good
for that
stuff.
later in April.
Let me ask you this question. I'm just looking at the free agents that are left, and let me go up to what happened so far. I kind of want to take a look at the running back market if we can, because there were some movements.
Gotcha.
There were a lot. Like when we last talked on Monday, the running back market I said was kind of going slow, and then out of nowhere, Rico Dowdle to the Panthers. Najee Harris leaves the Steelers for the Chargers. Samaj Pirane goes to the Bengals. Javonte Williams to the Cowboys. Raheem Mostert just signed today with the Raiders. Kenneth Gainwell, of all people, goes to the Steelers. Like a bunch of running backs have been on the moves. You still have a Miles Sanders.
AJ Dillon is an Eagle.
You still got a Miles Sanders out there. You still got Jamal Williams, Gus Edwards, Nick Chubb, who I've talked about, Alexander Madison. Surprisingly, the running back market went quick this year. And I feel like the big dog of the market, people will say Rico Dowdle because he got the most money. I thought the prize was going to be Najee Harris just because he's the bigger name of those guys. And I'll just say this. I'm kind of upset that Najee Harris had to go out the way he did as a Steelers fan. I thought he was okay. I know Danny has his beef with Najee Harris because he didn't say hi to him at the pizza shop. Pretty funny story if you haven't heard about that.
Please
talk
tell
about
me
that
the
maybe.
story. Please
So,
tell me the story.
Danny texts me one day saying, "Hey, I just saw Najee Harris at a local pizza place and he didn't even say hi." I'm like, okay. He sends me a picture, and I was like, that's clearly Najee Harris. And he told me the story. He was at the pizza place. He went up to him and played dumb, like, can I get a picture? And he was like, nah, I'm not Najee Harris. And he was being a jerk about it, which, I mean, he was probably just Najee play around. But Danny's like, I hate him. The only way he could win me back over is if he scores a walk-off touchdown in the final 10 seconds. He could rush for 500 yards in one game, but if the touchdown doesn't happen in the final 10 seconds, it's over. But I'm happy for him going to the Chargers because I was telling my one friend last night, he seems like a good fit with the Chargers, what they're trying to do. Look how good they made J.K. Dobbins and all those other guys look last year. It's a Jim Harbaugh offense.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing, though, Nate. It would have been much funnier if you did that story in, like, Danny Arab's voice. But speaking of Danny Arab, I do have an announcement to make as of right now. I love how we brought up Justin Fields and Aaron Rodgers earlier today. There's a good chance that those guys swap teams. There's also high talks in me and Danny Erb headed to MetLife Stadium this year to see the Pittsburgh Steelers take on the New York Jets and potentially have Aaron Rodgers versus Justin Fields at MetLife Stadium.
That would be an experience.
It will be fun. I think he's gonna get me a terrible towel. Even though if Justin Fields is facing Rodgers, I'm sorry, I'm going for the Jets. I want Justin Fields to annihilate the Steelers. But yeah, that would be a fun game. If you want to join us, be my guest.
I'll have to see. But yeah, this running back market
sucks.
I'm kind of surprised though, went as quick as it did.
I'm shocked that Dobbins is still on the board.
Yeah, that is a shocking one in my opinion.
Like, honestly, if I'm the Denver Broncos right now, I'm going out and I'm signing J.K. Dobbins. I'm signing Jamal. I'm signing a running back unless they truly think that they're going to be able to grab Ashton Genty at whatever pick they have.
You want a veteran running back that's been good in the past? It's Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
I mean, he has injury concerns, but it's clearly Nick Chubb. Like
Chubb's just older. That's the problem.
You've heard me the last couple of episodes pounding the gavel for Nick Chubb. Come to Pittsburgh, please. Make the jump. Because he would be a solid veteran to mentor a Jaylen Warren. He would be a solid veteran, per se. They draft some guy in a later round, which honestly the Steelers might at this point. I think he'd be solid. Miles Sanders still out there. He was on the Panthers last year. Previous was $6.35 million. Jamal Williams still out there. Gus Edwards, Jeff Wilson, Nick Chubb, Alexander Madison. Those are the top six. Moving on, I want to talk about, we already covered wide receivers a little bit. Anything else in the free agent market before we get into quarterbacks in the draft?
Don't think so. Let's talk about the draft.
Okay. Let's see here. Okay, so I was thinking about this today. with all this Aaron Rodgers debacle, I was driving home today before coming home, and they brought up a good point on the air. It was like, is this quarterback class actually that bad as what people have said it is compared to years prior? You think about this quarterback class, and next year's class is getting really hyped up because of an Archie Manning. Besides him, I mean, like, the thing is with Archie Manning too, he's hardly played. And he's the consensus number one guy, and that class, because of him, is number one ahead of these guys. This class, in my opinion, has grown on me. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it was just watching the combine or just learning more about these players. Here's the class, and I know in the chat earlier, Boston Fan for Life brought up Will Howard. He's another guy that has pedigree.
Fuck off. Fuck off about Will Howard. He's my fucking quarterback. We're drafting him at 101.
I mean, I don't really want him, but
I do.
Here's the thing with Will Howard. Like, that point proves a point. He's the 7th projected QB right now on this NFL draft buzz right now. They have all the quarterbacks in this draft class, and he right now is the 7th best guy. And he has pedigree. He has stuff. He's done things. Here's the top 10 right now. Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, Jackson Dart, Quinn Ewers, Jalen Milroe, Riley Leonard, Will Howard, Kyle McCord, Dylan Gabriel at number 9, and Curtis Rourke. And then Tyler Shough from Louisville. I hope I pronounced that right. Shao. He's been kind of surging up people's boards as well. And then you have Donovan Smith out of Houston at number 12. It's a class with some pretty good names, in my opinion. Now, will they all transpire to be solid NFL quarterbacks? That's a question. Will they top last year's quarterback class that was headlined by Rookie of the Year Jayden Daniels? Jayden Daniels has been better than Caleb Williams. There's no arguing that. Bo Nix has been better so far than Caleb Williams. Those are the 3 best guys in that draft class. Drake May as well. When you look at this class, there could be a possibility where I see some comparisons. Jackson Dart, for some reason, screams Bo Nix. I think he could be the Bo Nix of this draft. I think for some reason his draft stock has surged to the moon, like the stock market. You put in that perspective, out of nowhere. It's remember years ago, the whole GameStop thing? Everyone was buying GameStop stocks. Became a whole meme. Everyone was getting rich off of GameStop. That's what Jackson Dart is reminding me of. He had a great combine, great interviews from what it seems, and Jackson Dart all of a sudden could be a first-round pick. This is a guy that people thought was going to be a 4th or 5th round, but there's teams that are desperate for a QB, like the Pittsburgh Steelers, that could maybe use a Jackson Dart and somehow go from needing a wide receiver. They fix that problem with DK Metcalf. Now you don't primarily have to draft a wide receiver. There's a world where the Steelers could pick Jackson Dart at 21. There's a world that someone brought up today, and I don't think will happen. I personally don't want it to happen. There's a world where Shedeur Sanders could fall off the draft boards and somehow land at the Steelers at 21. This draft class, in my opinion, is kind of well-rounded. There are some bust material. Of course, I think Shedeur Sanders is the guy people are worried about, just because if you get Shedeur Sanders, you're more than likely getting prime time. A lot.
Yep.
And I get that, of course. But I mean, I think it's a solid class. Headline. I want to hear your thoughts about this, because I know we've talked, this was months ago. I think I remember you saying this isn't a good class, but has it grown on you just a tad?
Absolutely fucking not.
You're a hater, I see.
Not a hater. I just don't trust any of these guys. I don't trust Cam Ward as a project. I love Cam Ward to death. He's a great player. He's got an amazing arm, but his nonchalant pocket presence will not survive in the NFL. Coaches, I think, are going to discredit that. Shedeur Sanders is a faster version of Nick Mullins with more accuracy, because he is the definition of a fucking Chuck highlight quarterback. That's how I look at Shedeur Sanders. A worse version of Caleb Williams. Jackson Dart is the only QB that truly stands out to me, because he's got good pocket presence. The only issue with him is that he can't stop turning the ball over. Will Howard, I think he's got the most upside out of everybody in the class, along with Dart and potentially Cam Ward. But again, I I don't see Will Howard being no earlier than a 3rd-round pick, which is music to my ears, by the way, because I want the Rams to get him at 101 so badly. I swear to God, you better make it happen because he will work well with Matthew Stafford. I know that, and I stand by that. And then you've got guys like Dylan Gabriel as a left-handed quarterback. Lefties don't normally survive in the NFL. Tyler Shaw is Riley Leonard, not really a passing type of quarterback. Quinn Ewers fell off the face of the earth.
He's projected right now 4th best QB in this class.
That's not good. He's terrible.
Jalen Milroe they have falling off a little bit. He's kind of fell off to 5 right now.
He can't throw the ball.
Yeah, I'm not really high on Milroe personally.
It's good that you asked me because I am one of the main. I'm probably am the main college football person on this entire channel at Empire Sports Media. But like, I just don't see that much upside with these quarterbacks. That's my take.
Are you in the proponent that next year's class is better overall? Like,
it depends. I mean, I haven't really got that good of a look at it. I know that Archie Manning is the headliner.
But like, he's hardly played.
Exactly, that's the problem.
The guy that's played the most people seem to be more hyped about is Drew Aller.
The guys that I'm really hyped about are Nico Yamaleava, Drew Aller, Lenora Sellers, and Cade Klubnik. Those are the guys I'm actually hyped about.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, this class, it's funny. This class has some names that people know, and it's like people are just not liking this class. Here's the thing about these QB classes lately. I think you'll agree with this. They've been very underwhelming for the most part. Last year's quarterback class was just the outlier of like there was actually big names in this class. You had Caleb Williams, who was a Heisman winner. You had a Jaden Daniels. You had a Drake May. You had a Bo Nix. It was like you had these top guys. This year, it's kind of just well-rounded with like these college stars.
Breaking news, Jack Conklin back to the Browns.
Back to the Browns there. There's some news there. But like this draft is just built with these QBs that his names are known. And I don't know what it is. Like, could you say like you call Cam Ward like a project QB, which when you're drafting a quarterback, I feel like a lot of them are just projects anyway. Kind of reminds me of like JJ McCarthy last year. The Vikings are in this kind of stage where it's like, are they actually going to let JJ McCarthy start? Are they going to actually go get an Aaron Rodgers? No one knows. Like, I feel bad for JJ McCarthy because he seems to be the guy they want to see develop. Like, last year's QB class was amazing. And this year's class could be that. It's not going to be on the stage of taking like 50 quarterbacks in round 1 like we saw last year about. Like Caleb Williams, I think it was Caleb Williams.
Michael Penix, 8th overall.
Could we have that this year with a Michael Penix coming out of nowhere, you think?
The only thing that I could see is Jackson Dart going in the top 10.
And the sad thing is I could see that happening because I think teams might think he's better than a Shedeur Sanders. I don't think a Cam Ward.
Hear me out for a second.
What up?
We get into right outside the top 10. It's pick, I think it's 11 or 12. The 49ers are there. The 49ers draft Will Johnson. So I'm going to take a look at the draft order real fast. So with pick 12 is the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys make a trade. The team that trades up to number 12, the Pittsburgh Steelers. With the 12th overall pick, the Steelers draft Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss. I really see the Steelers trading up for Dart. I do.
I think they like him because there's a lot of fans that have just fell in love with the idea of drafting Jackson Dart. Like the state of Pittsburgh right now when it comes to the Steelers, it was always draft a wide receiver. It has to be a wide receiver. There were some people saying draft a defensive lineman. And now all of a sudden with this QB like drama, no one knows what's happening. You brought back Mason Rudolph. Cool. Back up. If you sign Aaron Rodgers, that's a starter. Hopefully just for 1 year. If it's 2 years, that's just a risk. You have to bring in a young guy. Because here's the thing, too. The situation the Steelers are in, per se, they don't like this class. So there's a guy the Steelers would like as a Steelers QB. It probably is Jackson Dart because at least he can throw it downfield a bit. And he's going to be there around their range. Even if they could also, if he's there at 15, I could see them trading up to 15th to get him. I don't think it's worth trading up to number 10 or number 12 or in that range. I could see them doing it, though. Last time they traded up that high, though, was for Devin Bush. And we all saw what happened with Devin Bush, and that makes me a little nervous with that range. But man, I don't know how I'd feel about it, because it's like the Steelers don't know what they're doing right now at quarterback, and it's kind of scary because next year's NFL draft takes place in Pittsburgh. And there's people that seriously think they could be waiting until the 2026 draft to actually find the franchise guy. Because what does that do? You get to do it. You get to draft this kid in your hometown at the stadium, which I think is going to be taking place. That's why this is like this whole Steelers dilemma. Like, part of me thinks they might be waiting for that. Maybe they're taking a gap year with Rodgers and Rudolph, if Rodgers is happening, by the way, per se. Maybe they're taking a gap year and like maybe drafting one of these guys to maybe be a backup at best. But I could totally see them having Jackson Dart in there to learn from Aaron Rodgers, just like Jordan Love did with Green Bay whenever Rodgers was there for a year or two with Jordan Love. But I get where you're coming from. And the thing is, I could see them doing that. I just don't see them trading up before 15, because that would just be, actually, you know what? I could see them doing that because how desperate they are right now. And that's what scares me. I know I said Omar Khan's great at trading, but his first and second round picks in the last few years haven't really been the greatest at drafting. They haven't really panned out the greatest. There's been a couple, not a lot.
Yeah. That's something that I could truly see, because Steelers need a quarterback. Everybody knows that. And if they don't get Rodgers or Wilson, I think they will look towards the draft.
I think, yeah, if there's a quarterback there at 21 and it is Jackson Dart, they will more than likely take Jackson
100%.
Dart. I do not see him taking a Milrow or a Ewers anymore. The perfect fit. Everyone wanted Jalen Milrow. I don't really see the hype about Jalen Milrow. With how many interceptions he had at Bama last year, that kind of scares me. If you're at Alabama throwing that many, like if your touchdown to interception ratio is that kind of subpar for a Bama QB, that scares me, because you're playing top competition. I think the Steelers, I think they see Jackson Dart as the guy. I'm pretty sure they did a pre-draft interview with him already. I wouldn't be surprised if they talked to guys later in the draft. I wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers are going to take a gamble in the later rounds and go after a Dylan Gabriel type, like a project.
Them getting a lefty QB would not make any sense to me.
JJ, it's the Steelers I'm talking about.
True. The Steelers do make the impossible possible.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Kyle McCord, Will Howard, Riley Leonard, any of these projects.
Please draft Riley Leonard. Please draft Riley Leonard.
Would you get a jersey?
Yes, in a heartbeat.
But like overall, I don't think this QB class is horrendous like people have been saying. But
I don't think it's horrendous. I just think when Shedeur Sanders is the second best QB, that's where I have an issue.
Yeah. I don't think he should be the second best QB. What can Shedeur Sanders do without a Travis Hunter?
Not much.
To just spam. If Shedeur Sanders isn't given a best situation with weapons, I think he's going to be lost.
Let's also not forget, even when Shedeur was at Jackson State, he had Travis Hunter with him. Always. That's why he had such a good senior year at Jackson State. I watched the games. I watched them on national television. I saw it happen right in front of my eyes. I watched this man play. It was not great.
If Shedeur Sanders goes to an NFL team with lacking an offensive line, he could be in trouble. It could just be recipe for disaster too. Because I'm worried about his awareness sometimes. I know he can run, but I'm worried if he's not protected much. Because we saw what happened with Caleb Williams last year. O-line, horrendous. Caleb Williams was among the most sacked quarterback in the league. I think there was a game last year he was sacked 9 times.
Yeah, but let's not act like he didn't walk into more than half those sacks.
Yeah, that's part of the problem.
This was my biggest thing. And I tell people always try to tell me Caleb is such a good quarterback, this, that. This is my biggest thing. He cannot handle any sort of pressure from a pass rush. And I said, watch the Notre Dame game. His senior year against Notre Dame. I have never, in all my years of watching college football, seen a quarterback that frazzled. Al Golden almost murdered this son of a bitch. Completely killed.
There's part of me that thinks it's like with Shedeur Sanders, you're drafting him just because of the name, hoping he can become like primetime, like have a very solid NFL career. Out of all these quarterbacks, I think Shedeur Sanders can be good if he really plays well. If he's given a good situation, it can work out. But I want to see how he does without a Travis Hunter. Like he brought up, we haven't seen that basically at all in his college career. He's always had Hunter by his side. And it makes me wonder with Shedeur, like, is he actually going to be still a top 10 pick? Like, are teams seeing it now? Because I've seen in a lot of draft boards, some of them have him falling out of the top 10. Could Shedeur Sanders be this year's like Johnny Manziel?
Yes.
Out of nowhere.
Absolutely. That is exactly what he is.
Like, is this year's draft shocker? Like, everyone had this guy going top 10, and out of nowhere, he's picked like 32nd. That range.
I need it.
And I'll close it with this. I know Danny and I have talked about this before when we got to Caleb Williams, because Danny is not a big fan of Caleb Williams.
I'm a Caleb Williams hater, and I'll say that proudly.
And I still kind of believe in him, but I don't think he's the best quarterback in this class. It's clearly Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix and Drake May, possibly. But the thing with Caleb Williams and like what Shedeur and him have in common, they both were primarily Pac-12 guys. And that also scares me because in the Pac-12, you're not facing, SEC, Big Ten, those big name competitions, if you know where I'm going with this. Caleb Williams won a Heisman, sure, but we kind of saw him be lackluster in Chicago when they gave him actual weapons. They gave him some guys to use, and it just was kind of off. I'm very curious to see, like, out of these top – do you have the draft order up really briefly?
Yeah.
Can you read off the teams, like number 1 through 10, and
yes,
where I think he would fit or if it would work?
All right, we got Tennessee Titans, number 1.
No, that would not work.
For Shedeur?
No, not for Shedeur.
For who?
I mean, I think they should get Abdul Carter.
No, I'm saying who do you think is gonna be like who are we testing is my question.
Oh no, Shedeur. We're going through Shedeur's options.
So we are going through Shedeur, okay.
Yeah, because I want to know if he would actually fit on these teams, if he could actually succeed.
The Cleveland Browns.
No. I mean, I could totally see Cleveland jumping on this, but no.
The quarterback graveyard.
Yeah, it could be Russ and Pickett, so.
The New York Football Giants. Oof.
This is totally a Giants move, but no. No.
I talked to my dad, who's a diehard Giants fan. He says if the Giants draft Shedeur Sanders 3rd overall, he might consider no longer being a Giants fan.
Jeez.
The New England Patriots.
No. That is not a Patriots-style quarterback. They just got Drake May.
They have their guy. Jacksonville. I'm just listing the teams. Jacksonville Jaguars.
No, they got Trevor.
Las Vegas Raiders.
Ooh, I don't think he's a Pete Carroll type. No, they just got Geno.
That's right. Geno. New York Jets.
No, they just got Fields.
Carolina Panthers.
No, I think they believe in Bryce Young.
New Orleans Saints.
Ooh. I'll say a maybe.
And Chicago Bears. No.
Is that 10?
That's 10.
Oh boy,
he might fall out of the top 10.
I think there's a perfect chance he does. Maybe the Raiders take him to back up Geno and maybe develop. But Pete Carroll seems to love Geno Smith. That's why he probably brought him over. Oh boy, this is getting iffy.
What do we got? What's getting iffy?
I mean, this entire draft class, because I don't think the quarterback class is atrocious. It's just very confusing to analyze because they could be good, they could be bad, they could be in between.
So we got all right. So I want to drop breaking news announcement. Breaking news: next week on the Final Whistle, we will be doing Mock Draft 1.0, our first edition of the mock draft.
Hey, we already did this.
No, we didn't.
Me and Danny did this a couple weeks ago.
So Mock Draft 2.0 then.
Mock Draft 1.1.
2.0 of the mock draft featuring me, Herb, and Nate.
1.01.
I'm just calling it 2 because you already did one. So this is Mock Draft 2.0. Version 2.
Okay, so what an episode. I thought we went a little long, but that happens when we're talking Rodgers, free agency. I like this quarterback class.
It's
Connor.
Empire Sports Media. It's supposed to be long.
So thank you all for watching. Maybe by next Tuesday when Danny and I are at least back, maybe we're ranting about Aaron Rodgers. Maybe it's official. Maybe it's done. Thank you all for joining. Thank you all who were commenting, aka Boston fan for life. Thank you all for watching. Means a lot. We saw, I think, up to 5 people joined in today. So thank you all. Make sure to subscribe to both our channels. And thank you all. See you next time.
Take care, everyone.